Voter contact is what can only be described as a leaky bucket. The most likely legislators to be on the fence don't live in deep red or deep blue districts. They live in purple districts.
But I am kind of curious now, is the Palm Pilot still in your possession in the Campaign HQ Museum?
People vote in terms of who they think they are as a person and not what they do. So it's not thanks for voting, it's thanks for being a voter.
Hello, and welcome to the Liberty Spenders Podcast. We are Kurt and Kristen Ludhart, your hosts, co-founders of the Prosper Group, an agency that's helped raise over $500 million and help elect over 100 members of Congress, 15 governors, 15 U.S. senators, and 1 president. And now, in addition to helping political candidates get elected, we're helping your business get elected by answering this question. What if you could exponentially grow your business by tapping into a lucrative and engaged audience that we call Liberty Spenders? Now, Liberty Spenders we've identified 76.5 million. They are Christian or conservative consumers, and they're looking to buy from businesses and brands that align with their values. If you want to learn more about that, you can get access to our new best-selling book at libertyspenders.com/free.
Our guest today is Nicole Schlinger, who's president of Campaign HQ. And if you want to know somebody who has talked to probably more Liberty Spenders on the phone than us, it's Nicole Schlinger. Because since 1999, Nicole has powered Republican victories and conservative causes with winning strategies like live calls and telephone town halls. Her team's innovation has earned her multiple Polly Awards and the 2023 Reed Award for the best political service firm. I didn't even know they had that award. Congratulations. Nicole's a Syracuse grad, an avid reader, a Kate Spade fan. I've seen a few Kate Spade purses in her possession. And she's also the keeper of Martha Waffles, Campaign HQ's Chief Canine Officer. Nicole, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Kurt. Thank you, Kristen. It's great to be here.
Yes, that's great to have you. We were talking about how long we've known each other, and it's been a very long time. I don't know that there's a harder working person in Republican politics where there is a client to be had. There is a Nicole Schlinger there. And so you're hard not to meet if you work in this business professionally.
Well, thank you. And I'd like to amend that anytime there's an opportunity that there's someone from Campaign HQ there. So right now, the AAPC is having their Polly Awards, and for the first time in at least a decade, we're being represented by 2 other members of our team. And so ultimately, if you want to grow your impact, you have to grow your team and scale your team to do that. And so that's been my journey and my quest for these last 10 years or so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's been a great one too. And it's amazing for us because, again, we have known you. We were trying to decide it's at least 10 years. But of course, you've grown this agency into such a powerhouse for conservative advocacy, for campaigns and beyond. And so I'd love for you to share some of your journey about that, because, again, you have been this absolutely visionary and trailblazing female entrepreneur. And I know you've got a lot of wisdom to share. So tell us a little bit about that, and how you came to grow the business.
Absolutely. So I started this company in 1999 when I was 24 years old. And at the time, I'd been the finance director at the Republican Party of Iowa for 2 years. The chairman with whom I came in did not run for re-election. A new chairman was elected. That new chairman put in his own executive director. And as the finance director, I was the only person left from the last administration. And the new executive director casually asked me, Nicole, who around here raises money? And I thought, oh my gosh, that's me. I think I'm about to lose my job. And I thought, if I could find 3 state representatives who would let me raise money for them, I think I could replace my salary here, and I wouldn't be subject to, the whims of party politics and administrations coming and going at the state party, which they do at a very rapid pace in not just Iowa, but in many, many states. So that was the genesis of the original business. And I'll say I was about 4 years in, and I was planning a fundraiser for a candidate. She was running for mayor of Des Moines. And, I was at the home of this business owner planning a fundraiser. And I said, one day I think I'm going to be able to exit this business. And he said, "Oh, no, you won't." And at that point I was, I think I was maybe 28, 29. He said, "Without you, there is no business." Mm-hmm. And, we had a wonderful fundraiser at this gentleman's house. I remember it well, but what he said stuck with me. And I realized that if I was going to have the biggest impact possible, I needed to be able to take what was in my head and what was in my heart and be able to build a structure that was going to be teachable, repeatable, and valuable. And so, in other words, what that means is a business that doesn't require my brain or my hands to crank the engine to make it run. And that's really been my quest ever since, from the time we went to doing major donor fundraising, to doing telephone fundraising, to doing voter contact, and public affairs, which is what we do today.
Well, you've got to evolve with your business, and you've certainly done it. You've taken Campaign HQ from a startup to go-to firm for phone-based engagement for Republicans, no small feat. Other than, learning how to evolve with the times and build around you, what's some of the lessons you've learned, or maybe what which you'd known from the start?
Oh, gosh. Well, that's the problem with youth. It's wasted on the young. If I could have today's wisdom and be 24, that would be perfect. But that's not God's plan. So in lieu of that, I guess what I think about is, ultimately, you can't change the world if you can't pay the rent. That's an old saying by Morton Blackwell. And so, if you want to have, the best, most committed, most talented people on your team, you have to find a way to be useful and valuable and relevant 365 days a year. And so, ultimately that was why we wound up diversifying, so that we serve political campaigns and organizations, those who are trying to get elected, get reelected, or to influence an election. And we also work in the public affairs space, meaning, after you elect those people, how do you hold them accountable? How do you make sure they vote for or against the things they campaigned on and promised to do? I will tell you, in about 2006, that was a great frustration for me that we'd help elect people and then they'd go on and, 2 years later, we'd give our opinion again at the polls, but there wasn't a way to keep that constant drumbeat and pressure, for the issues and causes that really mattered to us. So, it's one thing to have an R or a D by your name. It's another thing to take hard votes in favor or opposed to those principles. So now, as an example, this year, probably 75% of our work in an odd numbered year will be towards that end. And so the same exact tools that we've perfected and used so well and are so effective to elect people are just as good at mobilizing constituents to contact and put pressure on their lawmakers. Because if there's one thing about politicians, the thing they fear the most is reelection or not being reelected. And so using that same grassroots pressure on them, that we use for them has been enormously effective. And then 4 years ago, we also started doing official franked communication for members of Congress, some state office holders, where we use their official communications budget and again deploy those same tools, particularly telephone town halls, to allow them to contact a really large audience and to have a conversation with more people than might show up at the corner coffee shop on a Saturday morning.
It's a very good distinction to get people to come out in person now, forget about it.
Yes.
It's so hard.
Yeah. And the folks who show up at those in-person events are the least likely people to be undecided about you or the issue. The undecided voter is the one who's at home watching Wheel of Fortune, making dinner, and they have opinions and they care. But they're not going to go to your in-person event. And that's been, that's been the group of people that we've been really intent on reaching.
Mm-hmm.
Do people still watch Wheel of Fortune?
I was thinking the same thing. Wow, our minds are too. I was like, Wheel of Fortune, really?
I think it is. I don't know. I think it's still on, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, you see, you learn something new in every podcast. It's still there.
Well, I'm a few years older than you guys, so I might be a few years closer to being a regular watcher than you.
Yeah.
Well, they have a new host, right? For some time.
Yes.
I couldn't tell you who it is.
Oh, now I'm curious. We're going
Ryan
to watch tonight. Tonight, that's our date night tonight. Well, I know you've run a very fast-growing firm and really done a good job of building a client base over time. What do you think's been the most effective strategies? So, some business owner they're looking to replicate what you've done. What's been the most effective strategy for expanding your reach, but also holding on to those core values that define who you are?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing that we focus on is how do I stay in front of our clients and prospects with useful information, even at a time that they might not need us. Some of our clients can go 2 or 4, even 6 years between the times they need us. Now, calling them every 2 weeks or every month and asking, "Are you ready to buy from me?" is not an effective strategy. What is an effective strategy is to share information and to share things of value. And so, we send out newsletters, certainly, but we also host informative webinars. We, a couple of years ago, had the political director from the NRSC come on and give us a polling update on every single U.S. Senate race in the country in August, right before an election year. That was enormously valuable. And many of our clients are state-based consultants. And so they might be the go-to person who runs state house races in Oregon. So the information that we were able to share isn't necessarily readily available to the people who we're in contact with. So finding ways to be valuable and to talk to them at times when they don't have a problem in a way that's useful to them.
And I think what's so interesting, you just mentioned it there at the end, was about, a number of your clients are state-based consultants. And so for anybody listening, it's not, essentially important that you fully understand Nicole's business model or who she serves. But I think what the part that is valuable is picking up the lesson of that I've seen you do so effectively, which is you can go directly to a customer and a consumer and directly to a campaign or organization. But you've also very effectively built relationships with other people who also serve the same clients who can then offer your services and you can partner with them. And so we talk about this strategy a lot with strategic partnerships, joint ventures. And you're someone who has done that very successfully. So I'd love to hear even, how you've thought about that, or did that just kind of come organically? Was that on purpose, very intentional? Because that has, of course, helped expand your reach. And I think for a number of people, they can use that same strategy very effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think what we do would be probably more akin to a B2B sale than a B2C sale in terms of the number of clients we have and who we're serving. So the first thing I will say is that we're very CRM based. And so we have extraordinarily detailed information about the people in our CRM and all of the previous contacts that we've had with them, whether it's a member of our team, talking to them, seeing them at an event. We know all of the touch points we've had with that person. So we went back and analyzed who have been our best clients. We did this, I think, 2 years ago, who had been our very best clients over the previous 6 years. And where did they come from? How did they come into our world? And, we found 2 really surprising things. The first was someone who had been a point of contact for us when they worked for organization A, and then they moved to organization B. And they found us to be so useful at their previous organization, they brought us along with them to the next place they landed. And that resulted for us, if we did our job correctly, in 2 clients instead of 1, because we still had the original organization, and then we have the new organization where that person may have landed. So that was the first thing we noticed. And so we follow our clients religiously, and we notice when they move. We congratulate them when it is not unusual for someone who's been a client to get a gift in the mail from us when they take a new job. The second thing that we found is what we call common clients. So we might have worked with the Prosper Group on a certain campaign, and we had such a great collaborative working relationship that when you start working on another campaign, you suggest to them that they bring Campaign HQ on board because you know that's going to be a wonderful, productive, successful relationship again. And that can happen in two ways. Either, either we can both work for that campaign or that issue organization, or we might even wind up being a subcontractor or a white labeler to you. And so being flexible to be able to, to do either one of those, whichever's going to be best for the person who referred you or best for the client, knowing what your channels are and having decided in advance how you're going to handle them means that you can make those handoffs really quick and very elegant for the client. So they feel zero friction in starting a new relationship and working with you.
That is worth repeating slowly. What you said, I'll see now I'm going to butcher it, but deciding what you're going to do ahead of time, or some version of that. I want to highlight that because I think it is something that I just so respect and admire about you is you're a very intentional business person when you think about these things. And I think so many of us, myself included, we just kind of see opportunities or that sounds like a good idea. Let's do it. And we don't fully think through all the different steps or roll something out thinking about the client experience or the customer experience. And you're someone who I know has invested a lot in maintaining that, and again, as someone who has had a shared client and had also been a client of yours, we've seen that firsthand. And so you give out the best little gifts and little cute swag. And I mean, Kurt wears a pair of socks, that's got your brand on it and everything. And so you're definitely someone who's mastered it. And so I love how you clipped that up because I think it's just a really important distinction. It's not what I have noticed from you is that when you do things, you have thought through the various steps and what you want to do to make sure that people feel loved and all of those things. Yeah. And so you've done a really good job at that.
Well, the socks were better than the traditional bottle of wine. I feel like that's what I get from people. And I think if you know me at all, that's a really bad gift for Kurt Luthart is bottle of wine.
Doesn't drink.
We have a basement full of wine that people have given us, and I don't know anything about it either. So I don't know. I'm afraid to should I be thanking them? Is this like a $400 bottle of wine, or is this something they bought at Target? I don't know the difference. The socks are good, but actually the thing I was thinking about as you were talking that I use the most is that chapstick ball roller thing. Which has probably been years. Yeah, I use, that's the thing. I got that blue Campaign HQ chapstick thing that I use. And so there's always been something kind of Campaign HQ around. I also carry a little charger that you sent us, one of those round things, you put your cell phone on top of. Mm-hmm. So I do think those are good. And I do think our experience is similar. It's in our business very much about these relationships. People move around. People want to work with you again. And it's an important part of the business. I also think an important part of the business is doing a really good job, which you mentioned there. And I wanted to dig into that. And I know there's some people listening who are not political professionals. So we mentioned earlier on that you do live phone calls that, you do phone calls for voter contact. You mentioned teletown halls, whatever. But I think this is a good time for the uninitiated to hear. So if you've got to give us a good story, you can always take the client names away if we need to remain confidential. Like if somebody you came in and were able to help with, and so that people can kind of picture, here's what we do and how we do it.
Hey, business owners, did you know there's 76.5 million faith-based and conservative consumers that are looking to support brands that align with their values?
That's a $5 trillion opportunity, and if you're not tapping into it, you're leaving money on the table. Our new book, Liberty Spenders, is your ultimate guide to reaching this influential audience using conviction-driven marketing.
That's right. We break down real-world strategies that successful brands are using right now to connect with this audience authentically, build trust, and drive long-term business growth.
So if you're truly serious about standing out in today's crowded market, grab your copy today on Amazon or visit libertyspenders.com. And don't miss out on this revolutionary strategy called conviction-driven marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me give you a good example would be Kim Taylor, who's a delegate in Virginia. She ran in 2023 in one of the most hotly contested state delegate races in Virginia. Virginia has their legislative elections in odd-numbered years, which means unlike running at the same time when a president, a governor, a U.S. senator's on the ballot, they're running at a time and for an election that is not a time that most people are used to voting, and the general national narrative is not about voting. And she represents a district, that's kind of in exurban DC, Fredericksburg area. And she'd won her previous election by, I think maybe 100 votes. Don't quote me on that, but it was a small margin, and was facing a rematch with the same opponent. And, the thing that we found was there were very few people who were frequent likely voters who had not made up their mind about this race. The small core of people who always vote in legislative elections, for the most part, knew if they were going to vote for Kim Taylor or the other candidate. And so our focus was on the low propensity voters. And for folks who don't work in the political world, that means folks who are likely to be aligned with us politically, likely to be aligned with us ideologically, but don't always vote. Maybe they vote in presidential years. They don't vote in midterm years. Maybe they vote in general elections, but they don't vote in primary elections. And we found there was an enormous pool of these people. And so instead of trying to change someone's mind on an issue like the life issue, it's difficult to change someone's mind whose mind is made up on that.
Right.
Yes.
But it is much easier to change someone whose mind who's already pro-life, that voting in this election you don't usually vote in is supremely important to you. Mm. And so that's where we focused. And voter contact is what can only be described as a leaky bucket. There is no one form of voter contact that will get you a large enough percentage of the voters that you can change the course of an election. You can run linear TV. So, your broadcast TV. This is in the DC metro area. So that's almost prohibitively expensive for a small state delegate race. Yeah.
Yeah. Forget about it.
But you also have, a growing percentage of people who are cord cutters. They only watch streaming services. You have people who, you've got roughly, my understanding is it's about 10 to 15% of a voter file is difficult to target digitally because, in most cases, because they're old and have a landline phone. When you go knocking door to door, 7 out of the 10 people probably aren't home when you knock. And so where we come in is we plug the leaky bucket. Where we plug the hole is on the phone. And so as an example, you can text your audience of people, but 20 to 25% of those people will press stop to end. And yes, we do take you off the list when you reply stop, and any good reputable person will. But you can get 20 to 25% of the people who will opt out of your list. So now you're only texting 75% of your addressable universe. Well, if you're not going to win by 25%, that's pretty critical. On top of that, about 20% of your list is going to have a landline phone. So if you're only texting, you can't text people with a landline phone. So ultimately what we come in and plug the gaps to make sure that every voter that needs to be targeted, when you're looking at it on a voter by voter granular level, gets as many touches, as many points of contact as they possibly can. And in this particular situation, when you're looking at trying to get low propensity voters to turn out, one of the most proven methods was, it was first popularized and first mentioned in the public, I think, in the book, The Victory Lab by Sasha Eisenberg, is using social pressure. And social pressure means, your vote is a matter of public record and your neighbors are voting. So, we want to make sure that you get out and vote too. We'd like to thank you in advance for being a voter. People vote in terms of who they think they are as a person and not what they do. So it's not thanks for voting. It's thanks for being a voter. And social pressure, of course, because reminding people that it's not who you vote for that's a matter of public record. It's whether or not you've voted. And so reminding people that that's a matter of public record, no one wants to look bad in front of their neighbors and be the only person who's not a voter. There's been academic studies one after another that proves this is one of the most effective forms of voter contact in terms of changing voter behavior. So putting all of those things together, we come in and, we fill our lane, which is talking to people using their 10-digit phone number and figuring out of all the tools we have, which is the right combination to make sure that that message penetrates with them. Phones are typically the fastest thing you can do. And oftentimes they're the last thing you can deploy. You can't cut a new TV ad and get it up on TV on election day, but you definitely can send a text message while polls are open. You can call people the entire day. You can even run a telephone town hall and talk to a large audience. So, we sometimes find that we're the last bastion of hope, and we're the last place that you can put your campaign funds.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for businesses listening, they're probably so jealous of our ability to just call and text. And we still have to follow opt-outs and register our numbers, but we do not have to get consent first.
Yeah.
And it is something we have at our disposal because it is protected free speech, but political speech. But yeah, we get to do all those kinds of things, and it is very effective.
Well, I know that, and you mentioned it, that data is such an important part of campaigns these days, and kind of understanding who these people are. How has that changed in the, I know you're just really starting out because, you started your business when you were 24 and you're 29 now, but, in that 5 years, what's how's that changed? How are you using data these days to be even more effective than ever before?
Absolutely. There's, I think sometimes, there are more sophisticated models, and that sophisticated modeling is now available all the way down the ticket. So candidates who are running for state legislature can use tools that when we first started on campaigns were not even available to that extent at a presidential level. So, the democratization of, really high level modeling, that's been an enormous sea change. And all that's great. But one of the things that it tends to do is it causes people to get their blinders on and forget about the basic blocking and tackling of politics. That modeling is good at giving you maybe an 80% understanding of what this voter cares about, what their likelihood is to vote, what issues might be their hot button issues, whether it's Second Amendment, life, school choice, taxes, education. What's better than guessing is knowing. So if I know this person says they don't want to vote for you, you should stop calling them and stop mailing them. And it is
save your money, people.
Exactly. That you would be better off to whittle down your audience in a funnel and to spend your last 72 hours talking to the right 2,500 people 4 times than the wrong 10,000 people 1 time. And so, while all of the sophistication is great, it can't be at the expense of forgetting the very basics. I think it was Abraham Lincoln who said, make a perfect list of the voters and ascertain where each man stands, which pre-19th Amendment, we're going to ascertain where the women stand too. But that's really, that hasn't changed. That if you know where someone stands, you're either going to turn them out or get them out of your universe. And one of the things we find with our clients is they know that in their head, but in the heat of the moment, trying to actually do that while they're putting out fires with their candidate and they're dealing with an attack and they're preparing for a debate, they know they should do that, but that doesn't mean they have the wherewithal and can do that. So, we feel like that's one of the, next level services we provide is, yes, we can make your phone calls and we can help you figure out what you should say and to whom you should say it. But we can also save you money by helping you figure out how to say it to the right people and just doing the basics of keeping track of it.
Well, I was thinking about, even going back to your discussion about relationships and sales. And of course, relationships can lead to amazing breakthroughs. Do you have a favorite story where you had this amazing connection, a relationship that led to a big breakthrough for your company?
Absolutely. So, I was very eager to join the Ted Cruz team early on. So he was the special guest on a telephone town hall for my client, the Tea Party Patriots. And during that telephone town hall, our moderator, who is the organization's president, her phone caught out. She was just gone. And so they said, well, unmute your line, Nicole, start talking. And so I wound up being the moderator of this event for a few minutes that Ted Cruz was on. And it was in the early days about funding of Obamacare. And he said, friends, I'd like to leave you with the following 9 points. And I thought, this guy's not going to have 9 points. So I start writing down just to check him. He had 9 points and they were all good. And I thought, gosh, I am an Iowa presidential caucus veteran. This is a person who looks like he's on the up. I think he might want to know a consultant like me from Iowa. And I think I can do him a lot of good right now, and I can do him a lot of good later on. And it was my friend Kurt Luthart who made that initial introduction to me to his team.
Oh, I didn't remember I did that. Well, I'm glad that I was able to help with that.
It worked really well. Thank you.
You're absolutely right that, speaking of Ted Cruz, right? Sometimes people ask, tell me some about your clients. And, Senator Cruz has been a client since, for us, since 2015. Mm-hmm. And so, we're coming up on 10 years with him, and probably the smartest guy I've had as a client.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. I sat one time through a debate prep, and they had made this like big binder, right? Which I would never give to a political candidate of any. I mean, you're asking them to memorize some big binder, right? Nobody does it and do it in prep. It just confuses. You need like short, quick, pithy, keep it something that somebody could manage. And, he's quoting the thing like he remembers every page. Oh, well, that's what it says on page 2, and I learned quickly with him. When I used to be on conference calls with him, now I have JB, the best digital operative in the country who handles Ted Cruz. But when I used to be on, you've got to be careful. Some clients forget what you said 6 months ago. And no, Ted Cruz doesn't forget what you said. So you have to, I got to get this right.
And if you don't know, don't guess. Don't try to like flub it.
Yeah.
Don't.
Because he's got the binder memorized, right? It is memorized. And it's just a smart guy. But, I have found through the years, what your experience, Kristen's experience, it's these relationships that are so important. And I've rarely cold called a candidate to get hired. It's always been, well, I think Nicole Schlinger must know this person, or, some other consultant must know this person. I did this year cold call a statewide candidate and get them on the phone. I thought, well, that's
new.
First time. I don't do that sort of thing, but it's usually some kind of warm referral. And I'm glad I helped. I didn't even remember I'd helped with Ted Cruz. Well, that's probably why I'm getting, lip balm in the mail still today.
Those two things are directly related.
Yes.
So funny.
I think it's just inspiring too, because you started your business. So we started our business in 2006. So you started in 2009. You started in 1999. You're 7 years longer in business than we are, and still growing, still supporting more candidates and causes than ever before. What kind of keeps you trucking along?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So the business that I originally started is today's Campaign HQ is unrecognizable from what it was in 1999. So I don't feel like I've been sitting in the same spot, doing the same thing all 26 of those years. One of the things we used to provide was I had a list of all the donors in Des Moines, Iowa on my Palm Pilot, and I would show it to you if you wanted, and you were my client. That is not a service we provide anymore, as an example.
Oh, wow. Palm Pilots. I had one.
Yeah. So I love being on the cutting edge of how can we use person to person conversation to change people's hearts and minds and to, and to pass the kind of legislation that we want to pass. I look at where we were as a country in 1999 and where we are today. This wave of education savings accounts, of school choice bills that is just sweeping across the country with amazing momentum, is enormously rewarding to me to see something like that come to fruition after all these years. To think about where we've come in the pro-life movement in all of these years. Those things are, the wonderful thing about our country is that it's always growing and advancing and evolving. And so there will never be a time when our union is perfect. It's always towards a more perfect union. And so, the notion that there's always going to be elections and we can always advance our cause and the candidates who believe in it.
Yeah. Well, and you're absolutely right about how unrecognizable our business is. So it's true for us even in the digital world, but I am kind of curious now, is the Palm Pilot still in your possession in the Campaign HQ museum somewhere?
That is a great question. I believe the answer is yes, but I hope you will not hold me to that.
That's great. Cause in 30 years when you retire or whenever that happens, it can be encased in glass, like people encase their first dollar, right? Wouldn't it be, considering you're in the business of phones and fundraising, you could have your first phone, but most businesses don't last their first year.
I know.
Very few. I want to say somebody says these days it's like 5% last 10. And, I don't know what the statistics are after 20. But I wanted to, before we get into our big final section, what would you tell somebody? Okay, they want a business that's going to last 27 years. Give them a piece of advice, maybe something that every good business should be thinking about.
The best people you can find.
I like that. There was a period right there. Period on that sentence.
Period, exclamation point, whatever you can.
Yeah.
Take it with the tonality that suits you. So true. So true.
Absolutely. Well, with that being said, we're now ready to enter our lightning round. So, we like to ask the same 3 questions to everybody. What legacy would you like to leave behind from your work at Campaign HQ?
I think a couple of things. The first would be that we've elevated the standard for voter contact for campaigns all across the country, that their voter contact is better and more effective because Campaign HQ is here. And then I think about just the lives of the candidates that we've helped elect. And closest to my heart is the lives and families of the people that Campaign HQ's employed over the years.
Well, that's great. Now for all their programming, 90 seconds on something that's kind of got your attention lately. It's just not Campaign HQ related. So maybe you got a favorite sports team, a cool hobby, a book you read that you think is cool. What's got your attention?
One of the things that I keep going down a rabbit hole on is behavioral economics and how people make irrational choices. And
as one does.
And all of the cognitive biases that, we assume in all aspects of our lives that people are rational, and in most aspects of our lives, they are not. So everything from how you might choose a phone vendor like Campaign HQ to who you swipe left and right on Tinder.
Well, and I would replace that they to we, right? Because we all do it.
Yeah. Yes.
We're all human. We share those same biases and
yes.
Yeah.
I've been reading Robert Cialdini's book Influence, and also taking an online course that he offers, and it really gets into that. And and there's a lot of interesting things about what influences us that if we were to take a step back are completely irrational or certainly not logical. For example, he talks about the rule of reciprocity. If I give something to you, you're more likely to return. Even if I might give you a something worth just a couple dollars and then turn around and ask you for something worth significantly more. And that rule still applies, right? That you feel compelled to return the favor, even though my ask is 10,000 and what I gave you was 2. It's insane. Some of the stuff there. So it's a totally fascinating topic.
Well, you guys can nerd out. You guys can, geek out on that.
Yes. I heard Robert Cialdini speak at an event, and it was so fascinating and so interesting. And
he's brilliant.
And I thought, I haven't studied this enough because it's so relevant to political messaging, but also just to average everyday sales and the little levers that you can pull that change the way people behave. So
quick disclaimer.
It's fascinating.
You do it in the interest of service.
With
a clear conscience.
I mean, the theme of his book, he talks about ethically. How do you ethically, persuade?
Right.
But anyway, I want to do also 90 seconds. You can go a little longer on this one because this is an important one. Who should reach out to Nicole at Campaign HQ to hire you and why? How would they do it? Give us you get gratuitous self-promotion.
If you are a Republican candidate for office, a Republican political consultant, a party organization, an independent expenditure or super PAC, if you are trying to get elected, get reelected, pass a ballot initiative, or influence an election in any way, you should give us a call. We can, as we talked about earlier, we can help you reach voters that are falling through the cracks. We can help you influence those voters who are on the fence, who you need to talk to quickly. With a telephone town hall, you can even have a very large conversation at scale with people who might not sit and listen to you for that long in any other fashion or form, and much likely for less cost per person than an in-person event or a door knock. The second type of person who should reach out to us is someone who is trying to either pass or kill legislation, or any part or provision in a piece of legislation. Right now, we're all talking about President Trump's one big beautiful bill. Well, there's a lot of provisions in it. And, while we all want to see the extension of the 2017, Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, there are a whole host of provisions underneath that certain groups and organizations are particularly concerned about. So, if you want to put pressure on politicians and elevate the status of your cause, that's the second type of folks who should call us. The number one thing we do there that is the most effective is patch through calls. We call people, we explain in 30 seconds what your issue is, and we say, do you agree with us? If they say yes, we explain that their legislator is an important vote on it and needs to hear from them. May we transfer you right now so you can explain this? They say yes. We tell them exactly what to say. And then we ask one last time, are you ready? And they say yes. So we only transfer people through who have said yes and agreed with us 3 times. That means we're not transferring through people who don't support you, who don't understand, who are confused, who want to be put on the do not call list. We are transferring through people who want to give your message directly to that legislator from that legislator's district. And one of the things we find is, oftentimes organizations have a large membership, and that's great, but you are less likely to have the right number of people in the districts where the legislator is on the fence. The most likely legislators to be on the fence don't live in deep red or deep blue districts. They live in purple districts. And that means if you're, as an example, if you're a pro-Second Amendment organization and you need 100 people to talk to your member of Congress, it might be hard to find that from your membership. And people who call in from other parts of the state or other parts of the country, frankly, they don't really matter. So, if you want to get the right grassroots pressure on people quickly and in a very precise manner, that's the second thing we do. And the third kind of person you should call us is a member of Congress or an elected official that wants to use their official franked budget for more effective communication with their constituents. So telephone town halls, text messages, automated surveys, and the like. So if you want to get a hold of us, our website is www.chq.us, or you can call us at 888-722-4704. Or you can email me. I'm Nicole, Nicole, at chq.us.
Well, that's great. Mm-hmm. And I've seen those patch through calls work. Mm-hmm. I've used them in you on some important work, and I know they make a big difference for anybody who's learning about that. So We're so excited you came to join. We have seen Nicole build this amazing business. I probably should have spent the entire thing on how to for other people because she does such a great job. And we're so happy to have had you on, Nicole.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be with you.
Yes, it's sad that this is how we're getting to see each other through this podcast interview, but it's a real joy. And just a second, what Kurt said, we've just seen her and known her. Nicole's one of my most favorite people in this entire business. And so it's just great to have you on sharing your wisdom. And we wish you many, 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 many more years of success. Thanks for joining. And for those of you tuning in, we appreciate your time. We know how valuable it is. If you found value in today's episode, don't forget to like and subscribe. And we'd even love a review. It helps more people find us so that we can have a greater impact. Thanks. Until next time.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Liberty Spenders Podcast. If you're a business owner, we hope today's conversation gave you valuable insights on how to grow your business.
If you enjoyed the show, do us a favor. Hit like, subscribe, and leave a 5-star review. It really helps us reach more entrepreneurs and leaders like you who are ready to make an impact.
And write something flattering because I read them all. Don't forget to grab your copy of Liberty Spenders too, available now on Amazon and at libertyspenders.com. It's packed with proven strategies to help you reach the 76.5 million consumers who are looking for brands that share their values.
We'll see you next time as we continue exploring how to grow your business with purpose and conviction.
Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next episode and the one after that.